England, there is a saying, and it's how you eat. They say meat and 2 veg. That is so boring. In Korea, it's meat and like 20 different kinds of vegetables. And because of that, right?
몇 달 전 세계적인 명문대 스탠포드 대학교에서 많은 학생들의 이목을 끌었던 강연이 있었습니다. 바로 한식에 대한 강의였는데요. 과거에는 한식이라고 하면 비빔밥이나 불고기만 알고 있던 미국인들이 이제는 고추장과 백김치 같은 명칭마저 한국어로 말할 정도로 미국 내 한식에 대한 관심은 그 어느 때보다 뜨겁죠. 이를 방증하듯 수많은 스탠포드 대학생들이 한식 강의에 참가했고 적극적으로 질문을 하며 흥미를 보였다고 하는데요. 오늘 소개해드릴 영상은 런던과 홍콩에 한식 레스토랑을 운영 중인 셰프 주디주의 스탠포드 강연입니다. 젊은 시절 월스트리트에서 잘 나가는 금융인이었던 그녀가 한식 외길을 걷기까지 어떤 일이 있었는지 또 그녀가 생각하는 한식의 매력에 대해 이야기하는 영상 지금부터 전해드릴게요.
Degree from Columbia University, and so I didn't start out wanting to be a chef. I wasn't allowed to start out being a chef. You know, I had a very typical tiger parent upbringing. My Korean immigrant parents, you know, were very much, you know, you're going to be a doctor. My father's a doctor, and so, you know, 3 piano lessons a week. If I didn't go to a certain school, I would cast shame on my family and generations to come. So I went to the safety school called Columbia and majored in engineering. And from there, just being in New York City, you couldn't help but feel the pulse of Wall Street. At Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, I took a full-time job at Morgan Stanley. I actually worked here in San Francisco at 101 California for a number of years. And I was working New York market hours on the West Coast. So I was up every single day at 3 in the morning, you know, grinding, got really burnt out. And I was like, you know what, after 5-6 years, I don't love this. I don't love creating. I know what I do love. I loved cooking and I love food. And I had a stack of cookbooks next to my bed. I read cookbooks like fiction novels. Whenever I went to bookstores, I would buy Bon Appetit or Saveur, you know, all the great cooking magazines and read them cover to cover. And so much to the chagrin of my parents, they, you know, were not happy. I said, I'm quitting. And I'm going to go to cooking school. And they, you know, threw a huge fit. They said, you know, we worked so hard. We paid all this money for you to go to an Ivy League school. You're going to peel potatoes for a living. And what are we going to say to our friends? You know, and I was like, I don't really care. Your bragging rights are going to go away. That's fine. But I'm going to go to cooking school. So I enrolled at the French Culinary Institute in New York City, and I became a pastry chef. And I most immediately started working in magazines. I worked at Saveur. I worked at Time Out. I was writing. I was working in the test kitchens. I also started a nonprofit slow food in schools program. My teeth in kitchens at the Gordon Ramsay restaurant group. And, you know, it was hard, I would have to say, but worked my way up slowly. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But then I eventually opened up my own restaurants, Jinju, which you saw some clips of. I had 2 locations in London and 1 in Hong Kong. And now I have a fast casual quick serve concept specializing in Korean fried chicken called Soulbird. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to why I chose to specialize in Korean food. So food is highly emotional. It is so emotive. It's so provocative. We have so many strong food memories around what we eat. And so I felt, you know, I'm following my passion right now, not a paycheck. I got to cook what I love. And food in my household was always a language of love. Even if I was feeling just a little bit sad, my parents would say, you know, just eat this, like it'll make you feel better. And so it was their way of giving me a hug from the inside out. And so I really felt that I had to cook from the heart. In order to do that, I had to cook Korean food. I've got, you know, kimchi running through my veins, and it's the food that I know and I love best. And commercially, I also saw, you know, running a restaurant is also running a business. And so I had this commercial side to me. There was a huge gap in the market, particularly in London. You know, London is about, you know, 5 to 7 years behind New York. And so there wasn't a single Korean restaurant that I was proud to take work colleagues or my non-Korean friends, you know. The service was crap, lighting was offensive, there was no sign of a wine list, you couldn't get a good cocktail or anything, and the ambiance was diabolical. So I always felt that, you know, Korea is such a beautiful country, it has such a rich history, such rich culture. Why isn't there a restaurant that shows off and showcases all of the beautiful fabrics and design and woodwork of Korea? So I was like, this is what I wanted to do, so I had a mission. And I also had a mission to spread Korean flavors around the world. You know, I always felt that Korea was the unsung hero of Asia, and it deserved a place among the great cuisines. So this is why I chose Korean food. Glamorous, but it is blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, let me tell you. When I started out in the Gordon Ramsay restaurants, I was picking off stems off of spinach leaves. I was juicing crates of lemons with just a fork. You know, it is grunt, brutal work. You're standing on your feet for 15 to 16 hours a day, but if you stick with it, you will slowly get promoted and make your way up. And I started doing some small segments on television along the way. I got, you know, to meet some people, and then the whole Iron Chef gig came up. And this is, you know, 10, 12, maybe 13 years ago. Iron Chef was a huge global franchise. Iron Chef Australia, Iron Chef Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, and, you know, 30-something seasons in the United States. When Iron Chef UK came up, everyone and their mother went for the casting call, and I threw my hat into the ring. And I didn't think I had any chance at all. I was, you know, I didn't have my own restaurant. I didn't, you know, have really anything under my belt, but I had charisma. So I went for it, and casting call after casting call, I finally landed the gig, and I was the first female Iron Chef in the UK, the second female Iron Chef globally after Kat Cora, and that really kind of was a pivotal point in my career. One, I think, is the variety of Korean cuisine. In England, there is a saying, it's how you eat, they say meat and 2 veg. That is so boring. In Korea, it's meat and like 20 different kinds of vegetables. And because of that, right, it is so incredibly colorful, it's full of texture, full of diversity and everything, and it's based on the philosophical value of the rule of 5, that's obangsek. And so this goes into also why Korean food is so incredibly good for you, and so nutritious, and where food is medicine, it's all about balance and harmony, which we'll talk about a little bit more too. Also so good and delicious and also good for you is because it's really grounded in fermentation. The cornerstones of Korean cuisine, you know, are gochujang, the fermented chili paste, doenjang, the fermented soybean paste, and kangjang, soy sauce. And then on top of that, you have things like kimchi, which is fermented Korean vegetable. It's actually an umbrella term for over 100 different types of kimchis that are probably out there. And, you know, all of this fermentation leads to really great, rich, complex umami flavors and makes the cuisine taste so damn good. Creates the Hallyu wave. It's the Korean wave, which is crashing on the shores all around the world. And it's really affecting Korean cuisine, of course, with that. So just to give a couple of statistics, there was a 90% growth in Korean cuisine interest from 2021 to 2022 globally. And in 2022, Korean cuisine was the 5th most popular Googled ethnic cuisine search for. So people are curious, but they're also looking to learn more, which is very, very interesting and promising. And I've been seeing this, like, believe me, I wouldn't be able to do pop-ups around the world if there wasn't an interest, you know, and in random parts of the world. So I personally believe that the Korean wave is still going strong. We're seeing it crash on the shores, but eventually the waves are going to come to the heartland, to the middle of the country, and you will see people maybe in Kansas or in Arkansas, you know, cooking some more authentic dishes. But thank you, everyone. Yeah.
오늘은 세계적인 명문대 스탠포드 대학생들을 사로잡은 요리사 주디주의 강연을 번역해 전해드렸습니다. 오늘 영상도 마음에 드셨다면 좋아요와 구독 버튼 눌러주시겠어요? 항상 함께 해주시는 구독자, 시청자 여러분 감사드려요. 건강하시고 행복하세요.